the god of thunder.
All right, here we go. All right, we are back. It is the IVX section to start us off this week. Trevitt is going to take over. He is going to sum up this book, Inhumans, Once and Future Kings #1 for us, because I would do a very poor job of doing that. I had a hard time understanding the ins and outs of this thing, but I think I got the gist of it on the second read through. Take it away, Trevitt. You got the solicit and everything up?
Yes, I do. This was Chris. Anybody who's read Christopher Priest before, I just want to give a disclaimer. You'll know that he's very. He could be very confusing and he can be very complex. If you read Deathstroke, I didn't start understanding that book until around issue 8. So.
Yeah, I know, but this is only 6 issues, so hopefully it doesn't start kicking into gear at 5. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, writer is Christopher Priest. Art and cover done by Phil Noto. Well, no, not cover. Art and color done by Phil Noto. The cover was done by Nick Bradshaw, and it's beautiful. Yeah. The letters were done by VC's Joe Sabino. So the solicit goes like this, and it's a lot longer and better than the Captain America solicit, which is only like 3 words. A king in training, right? A king in training, a brother destined for madness. There are the early days of the Baltagon legacy when the king of the Inhumans is attacked. Black Bolt and Maximus spring into action to save their leader. But when Black Bolt loses control, what are the consequences for his future kingdom? His own or his own family. I said ham, or his own family. Plus a 2-page backup about
he's not eating dinner.
A 2-page backup about Lockjaw that I did not cover because I don't give a shit, and it's done by the guy who did the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, but whatever. I don't read that.
It was stupid. There was no need to read it.
No. So we start off this book with Black Bolt and Maximus and the Unspoken, who is the current king, but he's just keeping the seat warm for Black Bolt until he's old enough to take the throne. They're staring at a giant monument that is built to celebrate their current king. It looks like the Inhuman version of Mount Rushmore with the Unspoken's face on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like in the process of being chiseled out and built.
Yeah, it looks like a Egyptian pyramid situation, you know.
The title took me forever to read. I couldn't see the bottom word because of the way the water's hitting it.
Yeah.
I'm like, is that a K? Is that
is that a D?
Yeah, I had no idea what that word was.
I didn't. Dacamus, I think I say Dacamus.
Okay.
But I had no clue what that meant until about it. And well, we'll get to that. But I just didn't know what it meant until it happened. But so they're sitting there, the 3. They're on a horse, and it kind of looks like old kings and queens days. They're speaking about how majestic it is. Maximus is talking about how he wishes his cousin Medusa was there, which threw me because I didn't know that Black Bolt married his cousin.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. That was the first part. Like, and he's obviously got a thing for Medusa here. You know what I'm saying too? So I'm also
Maximus
at this point. Yeah, I'm also at this point like, is he just outright hitting on his cousin? So that's allowed. And I just thought everybody who is royalty is quote unquote related to each other.
But that is true because they like to keep the land and the titles in the family because
I had no idea it was like an incest thing kind of. So
yeah, it's crazy. I think there's actually some like I heard it on a TV show. I don't know if it's fact, but normally the writers research what they write. But someone was saying like a certain cousin, it has, how like if you have like a kid with like a sibling, it'll end up being mentally challenged or something. But a cousin like that doesn't factor in, but it has to be like a second cousin or a third cousin. So I guess it's okay if you're king. I mean, who knows? Like as long as your kids don't turn out retarded.
Yeah, it works on Game of Thrones.
Because they do have a child together. So I mean, so oh shit, my microphone fell back a little. So he was saying how he wishes Medusa was here to see it, and then he starts talking about how she's fit to be the wife of a king. Weird. What the fuck was I saying? And you know, you notice that, like, what's his name? The Unspoken takes a little interest there, and they're sitting there, and then Black Bolt's looking at all the slaves with one of those, but it looks like a binoculars, like
Yeah,
straight out of Star Wars, doesn't it? Like when
yeah,
Luke was in the snow and they're like looking around and the Empire Strikes Back. It looks exactly like those. And he's watching the slaves being mistreated, and he doesn't like it at all. So, oh yeah, I had a little thing here, just, you know, just in case not a lot of people know a lot of things about the Inhumans. They're not everyone's favorite comic book characters. So I'm not sure if this is common knowledge, but Black Bolt has limited telepathy. You know, normally you see him use it with Maximus or Medusa. You know, they don't talk about it in the books. You just see Medusa speaking for Black Bolt. She knows exactly what he wants to say, and you know, if you read Hickman's Infinity, when Black Bolt and Maximus were like real tight and they're building that machine, Maximus always speaks for him, but they never tell you about the telepathy. You just, you know, and you never see him doing sign language.
yeah.
But he's
He'll point at times or like gesture towards things, but
yeah,
that's like the extent of his communication.
but I've only ever seen him do the telepathy thing with Maximus and Medusa, and I've seen him do it with the Illuminati, because like he'll be sitting at that table and like he'll, like you said, he'll point at something, but they know exactly precisely what he wants to say. So
Yeah.
I think he's just telling them with his
I
mind,
think he'll
which is,
probably like talk to Richards more than anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like there's
yeah,
got to
yeah, he
be a way
does.
they understand what's going on.
He does. He talks to Reed because he's on that top 10 list of smartest people in the Marvel universe. So, and you know, he can't talk because a whisper could like throw a car 2 miles.
Yeah.
So, but so Maximus starts saying out loud that, you know, he won't do it, and then the king asks him what the problem is, and Maximus won't answer at first. You know, Black Bolt's talking to him is in his mind. We can't hear what he's saying, but so the king tells him to speak freely. So he disclaims that these are Black Bolt's words, not his. Black Bolt poses the moral theory: is slavery not wrong if it violates a person's being? And the king explains that the people are not slaves. This is just their place in life. Some are meant to rule, and others are meant to be subjugated. You know, like,
Yeah.
and you know,
Yeah,
it's
that's
true.
how he like comes off. That's how he like plays it off as it being better than quote unquote slavery, but still a
Yeah,
lot pawning it off as like these people can work for him.
he's like, you know, they get beer and they get a roof, they get blankets and beer. What do they have to be complaining about? And we'll get more into it in a minute, but these people, they're humans that they've captured and they put through this slave machine that turns them into fucking Neanderthals, basically. So, I mean, that's all
Yeah.
sorts of fucking wrong. Anyway, uh, so before you know it, arrows start flying all through the sky, and one goes through the king's chest. Black Bolt screams out, "Neural inhibitors!" You know, and Maximus asks, you know, how the hell are you speaking? And Black Bolt tells him that the arrows are fitted with devices that inhibit brain synapses, knocking out their powers. And you
Yeah.
know,
So everybody's depowered.
everyone's depowered. These things are just flying everywhere. It looks like flaming arrows everywhere, but they're like these high tech, like sticks.
Yeah. It's just they're just like glowing arrows that I guess can knock their powers out, but the king just took one right through the belly.
And Black Bolt's pulling one out of his back. So,
Yeah, he got shot too.
he
That's
got
what I thought
knocked.
at first. They needed to be hit for the powers to like be gone, but they just
I
have
guess
to
it's
be in the area of them. Yeah.
yeah. So that's I guess that's the glowing part. So you know, Maximus runs off. He wants to help the king, but Black Bolt stops him. He's like, you know, you idiot. He's like, if we go down there and try to help him and we fail, we don't even have our powers. He's like, Attilan's going to pay the price. So Maximus ain't hearing it, because I mean, at this point, everybody knows Maximus is Maximus the Mad, but at this point, he's not mad yet. He's not crazy. He's a normal, everyday kid, but he's a kiss ass. So he's always kissing the king's ass. So he runs out there to help him against Black Bolt's wishes. And you know, Maximus is now, he's in the thick of it. He's fighting like fucking 50 people with a gigantic broadsword, screaming traitors, like waving it around. While Black Bolt's doing the smarter thing, he runs off. He's testing the limitations of the neural inhibitors, and then a man named Dakamis just like comes out and starts screaming Braveheart testaments of wrongdoing, and you know, we're gonna kill our oppressors and whatnot. And Black Bolt, gets far enough away that he gets his powers back, and he screams enough and just like scares the shit out of everybody, because they don't show it in the art, but I'm sure the ground rumbled a little and everybody like felt it in their bodies, and they all just stopped like, okay, we're good.
It's like a page down the line, but it takes down that giant
it takes down the
statue, Mount Rushmore that was being built too.
It takes down the whole entire fucking mountain. So the king is surprised he's alive, which is probably bullshit. He's probably just saying that. But Maximus tells him it's no surprise. After all, he is the living Terrigenesis. That's what they call him. He is the most powerful one in all humanity. Like, if he gets enough Terrigen, he turns into this giant, hulking, unstoppable mass, but it doesn't last forever. It's like Ultraman snorting fucking kryptonite. He needs it to become powerful, but it wears off. And then he just becomes like a frail old sack of shit. So Maximus points out that his enemy, the man named Decamus, is dead. The weird part is it must have happened off panel because we didn't see it.
Yeah, I know.
He's sitting there with this big thing in his chest, and I flipped back and forth.
It's weird because you don't know if like Maximus stabbed him and he did it himself, or if Black Bolt yelling enough like knocked something down and took this dude out. Like it's kind of important to the story, because when you get to the bottom of the page and he's thanking Black Bolt and not Maximus, like you can tell Maximus is pissed.
I was assuming it was Maximus, because Black Bolt, when they go to the vigil, he's like, you don't have to be here. He's like, you didn't kill anybody. You got nothing to feel guilty about. So I assumed it was Maximus. And that's another reason why when he's like, he goes to the king's, he expresses gratitude to Black Bolt for saving his life. And technically, Maximus was the one in the thick of it, fighting people like off of him with a sword.
Yeah,
so
he's pissed Black Bolt ran away basically to solve the problem instead of taking it head on. Yeah.
And he's just like keeping up appearances because he's a tentative king. Like he's only keeping the seat warm. So, I mean, first of all, he's not going to want to let, he's an asshole already. He's building a monument with his face on it, and he's not going to be the king for another 10 years comes, and Maximus is like 26, 27, not Maximus, Black Bolt, it's like 27. He's going to be fucking king. You know what I mean? Yeah. So why are you building a monument of yourself? Your reign is going to be short-lived. So, shit's fishy already. And he's sitting there hugging Black Bolt, and it's all bullshit. Like, he's full of shit. Everything settles down. Maximus, tells the king that Black Bolt apologizes for the destruction of the monument, and he also mourns the losses of the subjects that died during the fight. But Maximus doesn't care. He's like, what does he say? He's like, I suppose I suppose it's like mourning a drowning cat. You know what I mean? Like so your pet died, which is fucked up. That's that whole king thing. Like, who gives a shit about the peasants? They're nothing. They're human garbage.
And at this point, you get like Maximus's viewpoint of the people that are slaves compared to Black Bolt's. Yeah,
Black Bolt's
point of them. Yeah.
Black Bolt's like a nice guy who knows the difference of right and wrong, and doesn't like when he sees people being mistreated, as where Maximus is like, the highborn shitbag who knows his title and revels in it and treats other people like shit if they're below him. So they know, where the fuck was I in my notes? Oh, here we are. So, to him, they're nothing more than human garbage. They're like mindless primitives. What do they call them? They're slaves, and they call them alpha primitives. They're humans that were transformed into cavemen by the slave engine, which I don't think we see in this issue yet.
No, I don't think we see it.
So now we're back at the city. We're back at I don't know what to call it. Is it I've heard some people say Attilan, and then some people say Adelan.
Say Attilan. Yeah, I say Attilan.
That's what I
Adelan sounds too much like a person's name to me. You know what I'm saying?
It's like the girl's name Adeline, like Adeline.
Yeah.
Adeline,
and there's got to be a D in Adeline for me personally.
Exactly. This is Attilan, plain and simple. So we're back in the city, and Cadlick, who the king keeps calling Seeker, is telling the king that the surviving traders have been locked away, their food rations have been suspended, He also tells the king that there must be a response for the attempt on his life. You know, he must go out there and punish people. But like, you know, the king tells him that he's not just going to go out there and attack anybody, because, you know, then you offend the faithful and then everybody hates you. You know what I mean? You don't want to be that type of king. You want to get the people on your side, especially since he's not the one true king to begin with. He's just filling this. He's just filling the spot of Black Bolt and Maximus's parents who died, and it doesn't explain completely how they died. Who knows? Maybe this guy had something to do with it.
Yeah, probably.
He was next in line. But you know, the king tells him there's no way an alpha primitive designed these neural inhibitors. You know, the enemy could be close, could be family, and, you know, besides, the Terrigen replenished him, and the surgeon that, you know, fixed him up and gave him the Terrigen also equipped his armor with a jamming field, so no matter what, that even if an arrow hits him, those machines, you know, the inhibitors aren't going to work on him ever again. So he's straight. He doesn't have to worry about this happening. Even if he takes an arrow, he still has his powers, so it's not going to make a difference. It'll probably bounce just right off him, yeah. And then he sends Kaldek out to find him a particular girl. You know, he's like, go, I need you to find a certain girl for me, which is Medusa.
Yeah.
Because, and what he's doing right here, why he's requesting her, is something we find out later at the vigil. So I won't touch on it. We'll go, because I had a theory right then and there. You know, why would he ask for Medusa? You know what I mean? Because he knows that they're interested in her and he wants to punish them. But we'll get to that. So we turn the page and we meet up with Medusa, who's being dressed by servants for her meeting with the king, and she's fucking furious, like livid. She doesn't want to go meet the king, but her mom tells her, you know, you can't refuse the king. To refuse the king is to tempt death. And she says, you know, we're no strangers to death, and the king will do well to remember that. Basically, like, threatening the king's life, like, fuck him, like, you're gonna kill me, I'll kill you, motherfucker. More on that later, because that's just not some willy-nilly shit, you know what I mean? That comes up in a fucked up way in a few pages. So next we see Black Bolt heading to the Alpha Primitive barracks, where they're having a vigil for their slain brethren. Maximus asks Black Bolt, you know, why he's there. You know, you didn't kill anyone. You shouldn't even feel guilty. Like, we don't have to be here. These people are scumbags. They'll slit your throat as soon as look at you. But Black Bolt, being a man of the people like he is, you know, he sits among everybody and joins the vigil. So they're sitting there, and then a man approaches who calls himself Alicia.
Yeah.
I saw that. I'm like, Alicia? Like, what? Oh, God. Anyway, so this man named Alicia approaches them, and he's not happy. He says, you know, the inhibitors gave them a chance to kill a god, and they blew it. You know, they wanted to get rid of this fucking tyrant, and, you know, he fucked it up. Maximus tells him to address him with more respect, you know, because he's low-born and they're high-born, and Alicia calls him an idiot and informs him that, you know, you embarrassed the king by saving him. He's not going to let this go. First, he's going to break your will, and eventually he's going to kill you. And this is why he asked Kaldek to go get Medusa, because he knows it's a soft spot for, you know, Maximus. Not, I mean, maybe Black Bolt, but definitely Maximus has a crush on her. So then the king shows up at the vigil, and he joins to pay his respects. And Alicia says the king, by doing this, is washing his hands of the responsibility of all the deaths that happened during that little rebellion. And, you know, he's going to throw all the blame on Black Bolt. He's going to make who's the better fall guy than the next person in line to be king? This way, you know, we make you look dishonorable, and I get to keep being king, right? Which kind of works out. We'll get there. So next, we're in a hangar, and Medusa, you know, she's all dressed up, and she's going to meet the king. And he tells her that his name was spoken in context of a king's wife, and that her cousins speak highly of her. He asks her what she thinks of moral theory, and how she feels about the slave engine. She says it's an impressive weapon, and, you know, then he tells her to speak freely, like, you know, it's horrible, it's an abomination, it's a tool for genocide. Tell me the truth, don't fucking bullshit me, you know what I mean? So she's like, you know, the morality is their response to law, and the king is law, so whatever he fucking says goes. So, like, that doesn't matter. Morality isn't the actual definition as we know it of. It's the rule of law, and whatever the king says is basically morality. So how can it be wrong if it's his orders? Which is basically like an ass-kissing drone answer. She's just saying that so she doesn't have to fight him or anything. So, what is it? Oh, yeah. They debate the treatment of the alpha primitives for a little while, and he basically tells her next time he sees her, he wants her to speak plainly and speak the truth because, they're going to be married. Like, he plans on next time he sees her, they're going to get married, and he's just doing it to fucking piss them off. And she turns to Kaldek because she's freaked out, and she's like, I don't fucking want to marry this guy. She's like, I don't want fucking anything to do with this shit. And he grabs her ass. Like, actually, wait. First, he plays back the recording of what she said in private to her mother, that, like, none of us are strangers to death. The king would be well to remember that. And then he's like, these are threats of treason, And then he grabs her ass and says, maybe if you, give me a blowjob or something, I don't have to play this for the king. Like, and this is fucked up. Like, you don't know who's buying this. Like, some mom could pick this up for a kid, and then you don't know. Like, could be like a 10, 12-year-old kid, and he's watching like blackmail rape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she goes fucking nuts and just destroys Kaldek, wraps him up in the hair, throws him up against the fucking wall, punches him in the face, and he's embarrassed and he calls for the guards, but she escapes. And she runs to find Black Bolt and Maximus, and she finds them and immediately starts strangling them with her hair. And she screams at them like, "You're fucking idiots! Why did you mention me to the king? Why did you bring me into this situation? I don't even want to be involved." And Maximus tells her, "We've come to save you." And she's like, "Thanks a lot, asshole, but I wouldn't need saving if you didn't open your fucking mouth." And
yeah, this is the part that lost me a little bit here. I'm like, I don't understand what everyone's getting at here.
Well, because Kaldek is coming for her because, he was going to play that to the king if she didn't, fuck him. And she beat the shit out of him. So he's definitely going to play that to the king. So when he plays that, she's going to be an enemy and she's going to be thrown, probably executed. So she starts running and he chases after her because he's like, fuck this bitch. Not going to blow me. I'm going to get you killed. And then Alicia saw this coming because, like he said at the vigil to Black Bolt and Maximus, the king wants you dead. He wants to be the king forever. He doesn't want you to be the future king. So with this development of, they know he's going after Medusa, and Alicia went and retrieved Lockjaw from the pound so they could get the fuck out of there lickety split. And then they teleport, and they're in the middle of fucking Times Square, which they look, they're sticking out like sore thumbs. Like, it looks like they came from space. And I don't know, at this point, they're on the moon, I believe, because at one point, Attilan was on the moon. So I think at this point,
side, like the backside of the moon where you couldn't see it.
But maybe they're not, because they were on that beach. The Inhumans are weird because they had a base on the moon. They had Attilan somewhere else at some point. Like, it floated above the sky, above New York, like miles.
Yeah, it was above. It was underground. It's been all over the place, and they don't really help you out with where it's at either.
And from Hickman's Infinity, I realized that Attilan is not the only Inhuman city. There are Inhuman cities all over the world because there are different factions. They all do, like, Black Bolt technically is their king, but they're loosely affiliated with the royal family, and Attilan, they're not like closely regulated by the throne. So maybe they could have been in one of those cities. It was way back when. Maybe it was before everybody was split apart and far from each other, so they could have been anywhere. But yeah, that's the end of the issue. I liked the art. I like Phil Noto's art. I like his older style better. It's more clear and the lines are cleaner. I mean, this is different. It looks like it's not inked. It looks like he pencils it and then colors it. You really can tell that just by looking at it. It's like penciled and colored. That's it. Which, the lines aren't too defined, but it still looks beautiful. Like, it looks very dreamy. And I really feel like I'm in a fantasy world, which is kind of cool because the Inhumans are completely out there. Even though they originated from this planet, and they're not like anybody, like any other dynasty or group of people on this planet. They look like they're from fucking space. The way they dress, the way they carry themselves, they are from Earth, but they're like foreigners from Earth. It's just so fucking weird. But I think it really fits the tone of what, of the Inhumans, and I really enjoyed it. The story was Christopher Priest. Like if you've ever read anything by Christopher Priest, this falls in line nicely with that. I think it's the best Inhumans book that we've had in a long time. I don't technically count Secret Warriors because I don't know, just it's not like your traditional Inhumans book where it takes place in Attilan and is all about the royal family and everybody and all the vassals and whatnot of the kingdom and everybody else. It's just like a ragtag group of Inhumans that got together to fight a war. You know what I mean? So it's very separate from anything else in the Inhumans universe. As where this feels the most interesting to me over Royals and everything else. And it's for me, it's a buy. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I like the art a lot. I was left a little confused by some of the scenes, and it probably had a lot to do with Maximus talking for Black Bolt, because they don't like it. You get the idea he's talking for Black Bolt, but he mixes in his thoughts with what Black Bolt's saying, so you can get lost with whose message is who there a little bit. I mean, I don't read a lot of Inhumans, so I have a really hard time getting into like the stories to start, and this one wasn't bad, but towards the end it got a little too convoluted and lost me at the end a little bit with this Alicia dude and why he cares and why he's popping up and stuff.
He's one of the I totally forgot to fucking mention that. He's like he's the guy who made the neural inhibitors. I think he's one of the alpha primitives.
No, he's just like one of the slave people that's revolting.
Yeah, but he's like a smarter one or something.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know a lot of it is in the style like Christopher Priest writes, and if
it really is,
yeah, if you come back for issue 2 and 3, and a lot of this stuff will be fleshed out and probably unfold for you.
Yeah.
But I mean, like an Inhumans book just has to grab me right away for me to be all aboard for it. And while I liked it, it wasn't like totally enthralling for me. It was tough for me to, like, I don't know, just say I enjoyed everything that I read. So I liked it, but it would be in the borrow category for me. I wouldn't spend. I just don't buy Inhuman stuff. Like it has to be, I don't know, like just more actiony, more clear and more focused. Like I love Christopher Priest's Deathstroke, and that's not clear and focused at all. Like that, they tell you a lot of stuff early, and then it gets revealed later on down the line.
That's
but
what
like
I was gonna say.
yeah, these just aren't characters that like I care to stick around and keep reading for those reveals.
Like exactly how you explained it is exactly how I felt when I first started reading Deathstroke. Like it wasn't exactly like completely fleshed out. I was a little confused. It jumped forward, backwards. Like I was like, eh. But then when it all started to come together, I was like, oh my God, this is like incredible. And I feel
it's
like
really, his Deathstroke's really good.
Yeah, I feel like eventually that'll happen within the next few issues, because the Inhumans are a really great untapped resource of Marvel. They're really hard for some reason to get right. I don't know why, but they're almost, because of kings and queens and all that. Like it could be so cool, but nobody quite takes it there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it does have like a little bit of a Game of Thrones type, royal feel to it.
I like that.
So that's one of the aspects I like for it. But the story just, like, pretty much that Black Bolt, Maximus, and Medusa are still around. So there's not a whole lot of stakes like in them being in danger or in threat of death, or so maybe that's why some of the reason I was just like, why is this being told right now?
Oh, it's a retelling of their origin.
Yeah, so I think it's also coming out because that TV show or whatever the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
With that things coming out, so they want everybody on the same page with these characters and stuff like that. So
They do that all
I
the
don't know,
time.
just an overall borrow for me. So we got a split decision as far as Inhumans Once and Future Kings goes. And we'll move on to the Secret Empire portion of things. And we'll start with Amazing Spider-Man and then do the Captain America Secret Empire section together, because that's like one long story. You should really read in a specific order, and we'll break all that down next. But so this is kind of like the separate section that'll lead into the connected section. But this wraps up the Spider-Man versus Doc Ock, Hydra Doc Ock arc, Secret Empire tie-in. So Spider-Man's done with all the Secret Empire nonsense after this. It's gonna be back with Green Goblin stuff next month. But on the orders of Captain America, the Superior Octopus is taking the fight to Parker Industries, and Peter must use the full force of his company to stop Ock and Hydra. But will it be enough? So yeah, Peter is basically down to his last headquarters. Ock is taken out New York, San Francisco, and London. So this entire story takes place in Shanghai, which is the last Parker Industries headquarters left. And the first page, when I open things up, actually, let me say the creative team here. I forgot that. Dan Slott, Stuart Amonim. That hasn't changed in a while for Spider-Man. So at least you get a consistent team. Wade Von Grawbadger is the inker, and colorist is Marte Garcia.
I love that.
Yeah,
name.
but the first page is the entire art team: Grawbadger, Amonin, and Marte Garcia, just kicking things off in high gear early, because they got a sweet page with Spider-Man and Doc Ock and all the Spider-Mobiles really converging on Spider-Man's location and picking up where we left them last issue as the cliffhanger. So I just always like the pages where you got to kind of turn them sideways and move the book a little bit to get a glimpse of what's going on. I was just
doing that too, of like tilting my head sideways, looking at the splash page. I was like, wow, that looks beautiful.
It's not like a full entire 2-page splash page, but it's like a page and a half of the second page that you can turn the book if you got the copy of and really like enjoy and look at it. So it starts sweet, and it starts with Ock just talking shit to Spidey, telling him he's gonna take over his final headquarters and crush Parker Industries, and Peter will be nothing again. He's trying to get these Spider-Mobiles overridden. He's trying to struggle away, and he's not having much luck right off the bat. We flash over to Aunt May, who's watching this all pretty much go down in front of her eyes on like her webware, and traffic is all fucked up because she's in Shanghai as well. She's worried about Peter, and obviously, because her name is on that building too. She's stressed out about what'll happen to like the company through Peter's company that she's a part of.
Why does she look like that? Like, do you remember like the Osborn ones where she showed up in Sumkaria and she had like her hair was only like went down to her earlobes and her face looked like 20 years younger.
I think she had a ponytail in those issues. If I remember, I don't know. I haven't opened them in a while, but
she even looked younger.
Yeah, like that was a different artist though. I think it's just a different artist rendition. Like he didn't put a lot of lines on Aunt May's face when she was.
That was a Monin.
No, I don't think he was that early. Was he?
Yeah,
the Ock stuff he did.
He started with the Osborn arc.
Yeah, I don't know if that was Osborn yet, though. Or I'm thinking of a different issue.
Yeah,
the one you're thinking of. Then I'm thinking of when they were in Africa.
Yeah, I'm talking about when they were with Silver Sable, the last arc, like when she showed up for to relieve everybody with the Ben Parker Foundation after Osborn with the what is she? The Baroness tried to fuck everybody. He tried to turn everybody into goblins.
Aunt May's face. They draw her different age. She's gotten younger as Spider-Man's gone on anyway. Because when she was when Spider-Man was younger, I feel like she was older.
She was. She's like a frail old lady, and now she's like in her 50s. She's like
But
55
anyway,
now.
Spider-Man moves on, and he's still fighting Ock. He's finally, starting to get to him a little bit. Starts getting the upper hand. He says something that really gets under Doc's skin when he's basically surmises that Doc is taking some of these actions into his own hands, and he's not really following Hydra orders to the T, because he wants to take over Parker Industries for himself. He doesn't want to really destroy it like he's been sent to do.
He wants his shit back.
Yeah, he wants all his technology and everything. So when Peter mentions that, he kind of sneaks away from Peter because he assumes Peter's too busy with all these Spider-Mobiles to really worry about him at this moment in time. He puts a call into just like two of the higher up scientists he has working at Parker Industries. They've referenced these guys a couple times throughout the 30 issues so far in the series. This one guy's been working on a clean energy source, and Peter's basically telling these guys, you got the backup plan ready. I need the backup plan. And we'll get to what that is here momentarily, because these guys are trying to narrow in on the frequency Doc Ock is using to control these Spider-Mobiles. He ends up, well, not Peter, but the girl who's created these Spider-Mobiles ends up kind of hot wiring one of them and taking back control, while Doc is on the inside trying to get to the secure servers, get the passwords, all the data he needs to continue this Ock Industries or whatever the hell he wants to call it. What was it called? Because it said OO when he's like, I've hid my logo in your corporate logo the whole time. You didn't even know it. I forget what the other O stand for.
Oh yeah, and his yeah. I forget what it stands for too.
But anyway, maybe just Otto Octavius.
Probably.
But as soon as Otto's like ready to start getting this information, downloading what he needs, the girl that freed the Spider-Mobile from the control of Doc comes bursting through this wall, and basically runs Doc over and out of the building, like rams him right out the window in a pretty cool scene. So Ock's not hurt really, though. They're gonna mix it up again a little later, but we flash over to Peter, who starts kicking in his plan B into action here. He swings into the building, takes his suit off real quick, says he has to do this part as Peter Parker and not as Spider-Man, and basically puts the call out to everybody who's left working at Parker Industries in the Shanghai location that everything needs to be destroyed. Like, everything needs to be wiped clean. There can't be anything left for one of the worst bad guys ever to, take control of. So everybody basically starts begrudgingly doing this. Aunt May at first is initially disappointed. Otto is obviously pissed. He's like, you goddamn Peter Parker. Yeah, because he's about to lose everything. So Peter continues on with like his spiel to the company. It basically all boils down to him ended up doing all this because, power and responsibility.
Yeah.
Kind of a little cheesy when you everything always for Spider-Man comes back to that. And it's what I like about Spider-Man, but also it doesn't necessarily apply to every goddamn situation in life. No. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes they really hammer it, goddamn it. Like, I had to get rid of everything I own, and now I'm poor again because of power and responsibility. Yeah, and I'm happy with that decision.
He can't let Ock get his hands on his he could have just wiped all the dangerous shit from the server. Why couldn't that be your backup plan? Wipe all the dangerous shit from the fucking servers.
It's a little like, well, whatever we have and whatever we're working on, Doc will use for nefarious means, so we have to wipe it all.
I also don't get why his fucking his webway, how he's suit on and his suit just spreads all over his body. He's suit off and the suit's off. Why does he have to get rid of his webwear? Why can't there be one left that gives him that cool suit?
I know. Like it's all got to be connected or none of it works.
Yeah, like he has to go back to the old suit and be completely broken. Like, great.
Yeah, because before he does stop being Peter Parker, he goes into this little secret cubby hole he has and pulls something out of a briefcase, which I knew right away was going to be the old suit.
Me too.
Anyway, we flash back to Aunt May. They check in. That's one of my complaints. Aunt May's a little too involved in this issue, and she doesn't really need to be.
No.
But she eventually is like coming around to Peter's decision at this point because of the whole power and responsibility thing. And then she runs into the cancer patient that is one of the employees' grandmothers that Parker's been helping. She's the lady in the Spider-Mobile at this point in time. Peter used to actually date her, I think, for a brief period in the beginning issues.
Yeah, he did until she found out she was working for that other lady
in company. Yeah,
the London office. The lady who was in charge of the London office.
What's her name? Starts with an S. Fuck,
I forget.
Peter
I read it so
her.
long ago.
Yeah, no, I can't remember her name. But anyway, so yeah, Aunt May starts coming around on the decision. She sees Peter's really still, good at heart. He's been helping people and blah, blah, blah. This was a step he had to take to protect pretty much the general public. And then Spider-Man comes back in action with a foot to Doc Ock's face. He's really getting on his nerves at this point because he's taken everything Ock has worked for. Ock's like, you've ruined it for both of us, and at this point, he ends up using one of the tricks Goblin used on Peter to basically depower his suit, but to a greater degree. And when he basically blows Peter's suit to smithereens, Peter's got the old suit on underneath. Here's the part I don't understand, though. If your high-tech suit gets blown to bits by this, sonic wave, your regular cloth suit is totally fine. You know what I'm saying?
I don't get it. I guess it's because it's like armor or something. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a cool line here that I did like, where he's like, "This is the only suit I've ever needed to beat you anyway, Ock."
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
Yeah, which was sweet. And then he ended up meeting up with those two scientists who put together this little EMP device that he then uses on Ock, and takes out all his octo arms. So he now just has these arms there that are motionless and useless for him. And I can't tell on the next page if Peter then webs up the arm and hits Doc with it, or if they're just going crazy and Ock is taking blows to the face because he can't avoid them.
I think they're going crazy, and he took a blow to the face. Got? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Because it doesn't look like Peter's shooting any web or anything there. He's like, stop hitting yourself. I was a little lost at that point.
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself.
Yeah, like big brother picking on little brother type situation going on.
Yeah, my brother used to do that to me.
Yeah, I used to do it to my little brother because I got two brothers. I got one that's like 1.5 years and one that's like 7 years younger. So yeah, that would be something the 7-year younger brother would get once in a while. But anyway, Ock ends up taking off with like this black goo webbing, like venom webbing almost. Did you pick up on that? And he just swings away like Superior Spider-Man would have.
I thought that was pretty cool. Like he's got his own webbing.
Yeah, he's got like a backup plan to get out of Dodge in case the arms do fail. He tells Peter to buy himself a little bit of time, that because of this EMP Peter used, the Spider-Mobile that knocked him out and is apparently glued to the side of this building is going to be falling. So he better rescue that girl. But that turns out to be false. Like Peter's like, why do I always fall for that shit? And he gives chase to Ock. But by the time he catches up with what's left of Ock's uniform, he realizes he shed it. He's changed clothes, and he doesn't know what the Superior Octopus, quote unquote, looks like without his mask on, because he's kept his face covered and hasn't picked up on the clone body he's used.
I was gonna say, like he's a clone of Peter, isn't he? Like,
well, I don't think it's an exact clone of Peter, so it doesn't look like him exactly. It was a different body Ben was Ben
taking.
was gonna end up putting himself into, right?
Yeah. So it's
And I
supposed to be
think
like
I
a Peter
think the
buddy.
point was, since Ben is trying to be his own man and stuff, this was one of the ways he was gonna do so, is really kind of getting a different kind of look and feel. Like his face in the outline looks a little Peterish, but I think they've really
At
you
the
know,
last page, he
singled him
looks
out with the
exactly like
crazy
Peter.
haircut he has, the mohawk, and
That's what it is. Because like in
yeah,
Clone Conspiracy, when they showed it off, it looked exactly like Peter, and on this last page, it looks like him. But Annie has all the spider powers. He can like remember when he was standing on the side of the building when we were all sideways. He's got the agility, the spider sense, the
yeah. See, I wonder
sticking
because
walls.
he was quick to just throw the webbing out there when his arms left. So I don't know if he can stick to buildings and stuff like Peter, or if those were the legs, like a
Yeah, no.
magnetic thing with the legs just helping him.
Yeah, no, because in the beginning he's standing like that splash page. He's standing on the wall, and all of his arms are touching the spider mobiles. So it's just him holding himself up,
Yeah, and he is calling himself the superior octopus. So maybe yeah, he's like a combo now. I never really picked up on that until now.
which is pretty awesome. Like I like that
Yeah, I'm
idea.
not a huge fan. He has those powers still. I just like I'd rather have him just have the arms, but I'm sure at one point down the line he'll either lose that ability or get another body or
I
something
hope
will
he doesn't.
happen.
I hope he sticks.
Anyway, we end up flashing to Spider-Man meeting up with Aunt May at the bottom. You know, they have a quick exchange where she mentions to Spider-Man to tell Peter that she's proud of him. And then we flash back to Ock, who's just slouching away, all pissed off. He's reports back to the Hydra's base, and they're thrilled with what he's done because Parker Industries is destroyed and no more. They can't influence really those countries or do anything they were doing previously anymore because they're defunct and have nothing. So Hydra's happy, but on the inside, Ock is like, I don't want to just be this, you know, basically foot soldier that just does jobs and is a lackey for Hydra. I want to run Hydra. You know, that's basically his intention. So you get the gist that Hydra's separating from the inside because everybody's got their own plans of world domination. And even though he did what they wanted to, he's not happy with the end result because he didn't get what he wanted in the end, which is control of Parker Industries, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad 3-issue tie-in arc to an event. Spider-Man always kind of lucks out a little bit. He gets the best of both worlds when his books tie into the event. They're not awful, like you can't wait for it to be over, but they're not, you know, out of this world either. They're just competent enough to not make you angry. And that I think that's where this one really falls for me. I think I'm going to also lean towards Borrow for this one. I really like the art. Amonum is really kind of like has sold me on being a Spider-Man artist. Sometimes a lot of the issues do take place a lot at night though. Like he's almost like turned into like this Batman dude that deals with a lot of stuff at night and not so much in the day. But that'll probably start changing with Daily Bugle life and all that
Yeah.
coming up again. So it doesn't stress me out. It's just been a different look for Spider-Man lately, and I think that's what they were going for with this whole Parker Industries, like different look, different job, different feel to the book. And I've enjoyed it. You know, I haven't been one of those people that has been on get rid of Parker Industries horse. You know what I'm saying? I've liked the suits and the tech and all that stuff. The webware
I
was a
missed it.
little cheesy at points, but I liked all the Spider Mobiles and all that stuff was cool to see again. You know.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss it.
Yeah, me too, a little bit. So I don't really look forward. I hope he's not going back to Daily Bugle life to just take pictures because that's fucking stupid. He better have like a different job or maybe be
Yeah,
running it or something. You know.
they said he's going there in a different capacity. So
Okay,
who knows? I
so
mean, he
yeah,
did run his own company, so maybe he will run it.
yeah, that'd be cool. As long as they do something different and it's not Peter sneaking out to take pictures of Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh, But yeah, I like the tie-in, the 3-issue tie-in arc, but it's overall a borrow. Even if you're reading Well, I guess you do kind of need it because it's how Parker Industries collapse. I was going to say, even if you're a big Spider-Man fan and you're reading the main series, this, I guess, isn't really something you need, but you could pick up this last issue and get the gist of what's happened.
It's like Dan Slott wrote the regular Spider-Man story he was gonna write anyway, but tied Secret Empire into it.
Yeah, just by solely using one of the characters linked to Hydra. So yeah, it was a clever little way to get to something you're trying to do anyway, and have the larger universe event affect Spider-Man individually. So I don't hate it. What do you think about it? I think it's just a borrow though. It doesn't knock my socks off. Tell everybody to go buy it.
It was a cool 3-issue arc. It's wasn't the greatest Spider-Man story in the world. I was a little bummed out. I mean, I know he's going back to the Bugle and all, and I understand they have to burn down Parker Industries, but I was a little bummed out that he's not going to have the armor anymore because I really enjoyed it. And
I did too.
He's a scientist first and foremost, and like he doesn't need Parker Industries to have that armor and to have cool gadgets. Like he could just be that cool, but
it could just be a natural progression of his suit over time. He's had an Iron Spire suit and like been inside that and worked with Tony. He could have access to tech that would enable him to have a better suit.
I hope at least he, gets the suit back or something. Who knows? We'll see. I mean, I really enjoy Superior Octopus. I like the idea of him having that better body because for so long we saw Doc Ock all the way back to the Matt Fraction Iron Man run. He was like this rotting corpse, and then we had to go.
I wasn't down with the rotting corpse Ock either. I just wanted him to be that goofy looking Ock villain. I just like that look. I think I know it's cheesy and goofy, but he looks more menacing that way to me than he does in this hipster doofus haircut look. His haircut bugs me, I guess.
The haircut it's
like a young Hitler haircut.
But I love the idea of where he's at now, and he's way more of a threat than he has ever been because before he just had the arms, and now he's got agility, speed, strength, fucking he could stick to walls. He could basically be Spider-Man if he wanted to. If he lost the arms, he could just use that web. He could be Spider-Man. But so he's kind of set up to be Spider. I mean, he's always been an arch nemesis of Spider-Man, but Norman Osborn has always been that guy. But Dr. Octopus is closer to him now since he kind of has a similar suit. He has similar power set, so it's he's more.
He was literally Peter for a year.
Yeah.
36 issues, a couple of years.
3 years he was Spider-Man, so I mean it's pretty interesting. But it's I totally agree with you about the Aunt May stuff. That shit did not need to be there.
Yeah.
Oh God, Stuart Immonen's art is incredible. Stuart Immonen's been around for so long, and he's always been heralded as one of the best artists in the business since he was doing Superman, and I love it. I'm so happy he's here on Spider-Man, and I can't wait to see more of it. I'm glad we're getting out of the Secret Empire business, though. So it's a borrow. I didn't hate it, but it's not an absolutely must-have. You know what I mean? All you really have to know is that he burned down Parker Industries.
No data, no webware, no suit, nothing.
No nothing. Back old. And the cool thing about it is even I love the way his armor suit looks, but Stuart Immonen, his art is so beautiful that even when you see him in his old suit, it still looks so beautiful. Yeah. You don't even care.
I will miss the I got so used to that blue glow. I'll kind of miss that a little bit.
I'm gonna miss that so much, and I'm gonna miss when he says "suit on," and all of a sudden you just see it spreading all over his body,
going on and off. Yeah, that's
so
cool.
New. It's like Iron Man's extremis armor, but only Spider-Man.
Yeah. But that's going to wrap up our first book section. We're going to kick it off to the Midpoint Marvelous Facts, and we'll be right back with you guys. All right, I'm going to take a quick smoke break and be back in 5 minutes. I'll send you a new invite, and we'll kill this. Because I figure we'll just kind of talk about Captain America and Secret Empire as one.